firstly, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. There are many others who wanted to, but with the load shedding in South Africa, they can't, so they've asked us to record it. So I've clicked on record. My mother asked me just to say a couple of words before I hand over to Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, with great gratitude to him. Very excited. And it's incredible that it's actually 4 years later. And if I try and put myself in Sacha's shoes now and think, what is it that he'd like to say to everybody? And he's smiling down right now with his huge heart and his arms wide open, with his love and big compassion. And he wants each of us to be present, to love, and to be in gratitude. And one thing he taught many of us while he was here was the power of gratitude, and every morning connecting in with our blessings. And in his passing, what he taught me most of all is to really seize the moment. There's a card, a picture of him that he gave me with a wonderful message at the back, and at the end it says Carpe Diem, which is seize the day. And I didn't get it fully at the time, but having lost Sacha, I think the lesson is to just really maximize the opportunity of every moment we have in our life. So when we are with someone that we love, we really truly see them. We look for the good, we seek out the good. And even when we're tired and exhausted or frustrated and annoyed, we find that higher self within ourselves, not to get angry, mad, come from our ego, needing to be right, but we're able to reach deep inside of ourselves and just say, I'm sorry. It's okay. I'm sorry. Let's talk. Let's work it out. The importance of letting go, being present. If we think to ourselves, I need to call someone, we make that call. The worst thing of losing someone suddenly is not making those calls, not saying what you wished you did. So my message from me would be just to pick up the phone, all the people you love and care about, tell them how much you love them. You know, if anyone's annoying us, just seek out the good, look for the good, and tell them why they're so wonderful, beautiful, amazing, and just try and amplify that goodness and see what happens as a result. So Sacha, I know your soul is around all of us, and he's blessing us all and sending us love and light, and wants all of us to ignite ourselves. And he is so excited to have one of his very bestest friends ever, Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, to be with us and to talk to us about actualizing potential. So Sacha's company was Realize Your Potential, and that's what he wanted more than anything else, is for all of us to be our potential. And Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen, who's many things, an author, a senior lecturer at Aish in Yerushalayim, an inspiring speaker. So thank you for, most of all, for being Sacha's greatest buddy and for being here. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. You can still call me Brad.
Brad. I love Rabbi Dov Ber Cohen.
Me. I like you too, but you know, for you and Helen and Eric and the other sisters, I'm still Brad. I was just thinking, I really don't want to do this. I shouldn't be doing this, you know. Well, I'm honored that I get to do it, but it's not ideal. And I was told Nicole recently that I've actually been thinking about Sacha more recently, and I've been very sad. It's very sad, and we're speaking about actualizing potential. And when someone passes away, that's really, it's the end in some ways of the potential. Now, thank God Judaism teaches that that's not actually true, that the souls of people, when they pass away, can have an effect and do have an effect, and they're looking down and they're praying for us. But in another way, his potential on this earth and how much he was achieving was cut short. And I was just kind of selfishly thinking about, I had a baby boy 2 years ago. In fact, in 2 days from now, on the 8th of Shvat, is my baby boy's bris, two-year anniversary of his bris. He was born 3 months early. He was born in October, and he had his bris on the 8th of Shvat. And Sacha never got to see him, and I don't get to share my children with Sacha, and I don't get to share his children either. So it's painful. But one thing Sacha and I always used to speak about, which is really part of actualizing our potential in life, is turning pain into purpose. What do you do with pain? Because pain comes, we're going to be having challenges. We have difficult things in our life. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with your pain? What's it going to be to you? So he always used to speak about the choice. We have a choice. We don't choose the circumstances. We don't always choose what happens to us, but we always have a choice of how we react to it or how we let that affect us. Who am I going to be in this situation? So when it comes to pain, we've got to realize that we got to try and make it not define us. It doesn't become our whole reality. I speak to many people, and they say to me, I'm the one whose parents got divorced, or I'm the one that it becomes someone's whole reality. Often someone's pain, someone's trauma, someone's hurt, that becomes their reality. And what Sacha used to say is, there's got to be a place. There's a place for your pain. You can't ignore it. You can't repress it. But you also got to try not to let it overtake you and overwhelm you and define you and be your life. You've got to feel it. You've got to grieve. And Judaism is very healthy in this way. Although we say that everything happens for a reason and everything's for the best, we also say that when someone passes away, we grieve and we sit and we cry and we're honest. We're honest and open with our emotions, how we feel. But then we do something about it. What am I going to do with this pain? I'm going to use this pain to become greater. I'm going to use this pain. And Sacha often gave the example of going to the gym. The gym is very painful. But if it wasn't painful, you wouldn't be growing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to use our pain and our challenge to actually grow, to reach our potential. We were actually going to call the class Realizing Your Potential, or Actualizing Your Potential in Adversity. But the truth really is, if there's no adversity, you're not going to reach your potential. It's only through adversity that you're ever going to reach your potential. So we're going through crazy times. We're going through big challenges in the world. Many people have said to me, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. Let's get things back to normal. And I think to myself, we don't want things to be normal. I don't want things to go back to normal. How was your life before? Do you really want things to be back to how they were? Or do you want to take the challenge of this time that we're all going through, and you want to become deeper? You want to use all of these challenges in your life to look at yourself and look inwards and say to yourself, what's being asked of me? What's being asked of me? How am I going to use this to become greater? So I don't want things to go back to normal. I want things to go back to much better than they used to be, much greater. I spoke to a group. I've done lots of, for the last year, most of my teaching has been on Zoom. So I often speak to groups in America, and I gave a class, and it was called Staying Connected in a Disconnected World. How to stay connected in a disconnected world. And there are about 80 people or 80 screens there. And I said to them, you know what? We've never been more connected in our lives. Look at us. There are 80 people. Sorry. So there are 80 people here. We're all looking on a screen together. We're learning together. Sorry, just to mention that our learning tonight is for the Ilui Neshama of David Ben Aryeh, of Sacha, that his soul should go higher and higher. So that's what our learning Maybe for today and tomorrow, if you want to give tzedakah, if you want to do an extra mitzvah, if you want to do something, just to have in mind that it goes to contribute to Sacha's continued growth and actualizing his potential in the world of truth. We call that the world of truth. So speaking to this group, and I said, we've never been more connected. We got 80 people on a Zoom call. Most of you are probably checking your WhatsApp at the same time. I bet a couple of you have got the TV on in the background, and you've got your laptop and your iPad. You've probably got like 5 screens. You're speaking to 18 different people at the same time. We've never been more connected in our lives. But the truth is that we've never been less connected to ourselves. We're so connected to everyone else. We're so connected to our persona, our Instagram or our WhatsApp or our Facebook or Snapchat. We're so connected to this persona or who we're trying to project we are to everyone else, that we've actually lost contact with who we are. So to actualize our potential means to actually take a moment to stop and think, hold on, who am I and who can I be? And this is really the perfect time to do it. We've just entered the month of Shvat. Now it's the 6th of Shvat. The outside is on the 6th of Shvat. And the Talmud, the Gemara teaches us that Shvat is really the month of the trees. We've gone into the tree month. The Talmud, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah says there are really 4 Rosh Hashanahs. There's the Rosh Hashanah we all know about on the 1st of Tishrei, which is the Rosh Hashanah for the year. And then there's another Rosh Hashanah for the animals. And there's a Rosh Hashanah for the kings. And this happens to be the month, the Rosh Hashanah for the trees. So what's this really all about? We've just come out of Tevet. The month of Tevet is the hardest and darkest month of the year. The Zohar and the books of Kabbalah say, well, firstly, just the days are shortest. I don't know, most of you are in England, so I know what it's like to wake up in the morning and go to school and it's still dark, and come home and from school and it's dark as well. So it's the darkest, hardest month of the year. We don't have any festivals in that month. We just have a fast day when the siege of Jerusalem began, and Ezra, the scribe, he died, and many terrible things happened to us. So it's a very dark month. But the month itself, Tevet, the root of the word Tevet is actually Tov, is good. And Judaism is teaching us that if we can see through the dark times, we can find the good. We've always got to look, are we looking for the good in everything? The books of Kabbalah actually teach that each month has a letter associated with it. And the letter of Tevet is Ayin, the letter Ayin, which is also the same word as your word for your eyes. Can you find the growth in the pain? Can you look, can you see in this darkness? Can I find the light in the darkness? Then Tevet, Tov, comes to an end and we step into Shvat. And Shvat is the month of the trees. And what are trees all about? So really there are 4 levels of existence. There's domem, there's mineral, and then there's tzomeach, which is vegetable, and then there's chai, which is animal, and then there's medaber, which is human. So there's mineral, vegetable, animal, and human. And we know that Rosh Hashanah that we know about is the Rosh Hashanah for humans. And we have another Rosh Hashanah for animals. This is the Rosh Hashanah. This is the beginning. This is the power of trees. And trees are called tzomeach. And tzomeach means growth. And our sages compare us to trees. They say humans are like trees. And why is that? It's because we're here for a reason. And the reason we're here is to grow. It's to reach our potential. And that's what a tree we're trying to do. We're trying to become what we were created for. There's a purpose. There's a purpose to everything in creation. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning, is teaching us if you go back to the beginning, it actually means that there's a purpose. I'm meant to be achieving something. And we see with a tree and with everything in life that all the potential is there in the seed. It's there at the beginning. Rosh Hashanah. The whole tree is in the seed. If you plant a seed, as long as you can get rid of the obstacles and the barriers, you can take out the weeds and get rid of the rocks. And as long as it has sunlight and it has water and it's being nurtured, it is going to reach its potential. And the same is true with DNA. The whole human is all there at the beginning, all the potentials at the beginning. The Gemara actually has a disagreement, which is surprising. But there's a disagreement between Shammai and Hillel when actually the Rosh Hashanah for the trees is. So Shammai says that it's actually on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. It's on the 1st of Shvat. And Hillel says, no, it's on the 15th of Shvat. It's coming up next week. So we actually, at the moment, we go with Hillel. And the arguments, the disagreements between Shammai and Hillel are always this idea: potential and actualization. Shammai always looks at the potential. He says, by this time of the year, the shortest days of the year are over. The days are getting longer, and the sap is starting to rise in the tree. So the potential for new life is already bubbling under the surface. We can't see it, but I know it's there, and I'm going to celebrate potential. We see also for Hanukkah candles, Shammai says we should light 8 candles on the first night, and then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because he sees the potential. There are still 8 days to go. Hillel, on the other hand, he looks at actualization of potential. Hillel says, you know what? It's not good enough. I know that the potential's there, but I want to see the buds appearing on the tree. So I'm going to wait for 2 weeks. Rosh Hashanah, when can we really start celebrating growth and trees, is when the buds start appearing, when when the potential has started to be actualized. So that's why he says on Hanukkah we light 1 candle first, because that's what we've actualized already, and then on the second night 2 candles, because we've actualized 2 candles. So both of these perspectives are true. Both of these perspectives are true because we always need to look at our potential. We always need to say to ourselves, I can do this. There are very many people that at some point, they start to give up. They say, I've been trying, I just can't do this. It's too much for me. And Shammai is saying, hold on a second. The potential's all there. It's all there in the seed. You've always got it in you. I know you can do it. Even though you can't see it, even though it hasn't been actualized yet, if you just keep going back to your source and keep believing in yourself, eventually you're going to get there. You just need to remove the obstacles. So we're all created with this potential in our life. We have our DNA. Many people ask me, what is my potential? So in your DNA, this is how tall you could be, as long as you're well nourished. This is how tall you could be. This is how much intelligence you have. This is how good you could be at tennis. Sacha always beat me at tennis. It was a bit annoying, but Baruch Hashem, his potential for tennis was much greater than mine. Baruch Hashem. So you've got a potential to be a financial potential. We've got so many areas of possible potential. So Judaism stops and says, hold on a second. How do you define what is a meaningful actualization of your potential? Because you could put your potential, you could have so much discipline and you could have so much talent, but if you're putting it towards something that doesn't have intrinsic meaning, it's actually a waste of potential. You actualized it. Just one example that comes to mind, I hope I don't offend anyone, but once I was walking through the streets of Jerusalem and I saw a big crowd around somebody. So I pushed my way to the front of the crowd. I have some Israeli character traits here. I pushed my way to the front of the crowd and I saw in the middle of this big circle, a guy playing yo-yo. And he had 2 yo-yos and he was amazing. Is it ridiculous what a human being can do with a yo-yo? 2 yo-yos, no. So someone actually said to me that this guy is the second best yo-yo player in the world. He's the second best yo-yo. And I looked it up right then and there. I Googled it and indeed it was him. The second best yo-yo dude. And so he was doing walk the dog and cradle and double yo-yo, unbelievable, with music and everyone was cheering. So I watched it for about 3 minutes and I walked away. And I really thought to myself, what a waste of your life. You spent 500,000 hours becoming very good at yo-yo. Why? What does that mean? What's the meaning behind it? Why did you invest in that? So you got to ask ourselves, are we using our potential? Are we investing our potential in the right place? So it's very easy for, and by the way, I'm going to come back to the yo-yo guy and I'm going to give him some credit in a second. I'm sorry if anyone got offended by that story. But you've got to ask ourselves in our life, what does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to have a successful life? How can you say that I actualize my potential in life? Because if he, he actualized his potential as a tennis player, that's very good, but not as a father. So that's not so good. What's more important, to actualize your potential as a father or a tennis player? So it seems to be so fragmented. I've actualized my potential in some areas, but not in other areas. So what Judaism wants to actually do is try and put it all together. What does it really mean to have a meaningful actualization of potential? So success is always defined by purpose. Success is defined by purpose. So if you say someone's a successful business person, someone's a successful business person, what does that mean? It means that they've made a lot of money doing whatever work that they choose to do. If you made a lot of money because you inherited the money, it means you're not a successful business person, you're just rich. If you do the business very well, but you don't make money, then you're not a successful business person. To the extent that you reach the purpose of the business, then you could be called a successful business person. It's the same for a sports person. To the extent that you reach the purpose of the sport, you could be called a successful sports person. It's the same with an operation. What's a successful operation? To the extent that you reach the purpose of the operation, you had a successful operation. So now we can define for ourselves, what does it mean to have a successful life? It means to the extent that you've reached the purpose of life, then you've had a successful life. To the extent that you reached what you were created for, and you've produced your fruits, a fruit tree that doesn't produce fruits isn't a successful fruit tree. So we're compared to trees. What are the fruits that we're meant to be producing in the world? What's the definition of successful life? So the answer, and I'm going to give the Gemara's answer, and I'm going to give Sacha's answer based on Tony Robbins, probably. But they're very in line with each other. There's synchronicity here. The Gemara says, in the Gemara in Nida 30b, it says that you're actually created with two potentials. And these are the only meaningful potentials. Your financial potential and your sports potential and all of these things are not considered meaningful potential. What's considered meaningful is you're created with the potential for good and the potential for evil. You're created with two potentials. You're created, and the Gemara says you can choose. Either I'm going to be a tzaddik or a rasha. I'm going to be a righteous person or an evil person. And that's what's meaningful in life. The purpose of life is for us to improve ourselves and improve the world, to be good and to do good, or as Sacha would say, maybe borrowing from Tony Robbins, to grow and to contribute. That's what's called meaningful self-actualization. Real meaningful actualization is self-actualization, reaching my purpose. What was I created for? I was created to be good and to do good, and that's really it. So by the way, if the yo-yo guy used all of his experience to set up a school for underprivileged kids, to empower them to find their own hobbies and passion in life, and all of his hours of yo-yo practice, then they become meaningful. They become meaningful. Things are only meaningful to the extent that they're producing goodness in the world. So this is a whole new take on what we should be living for and what we're investing in our lives. Do you want to reach your potential? Your potential isn't your golf handicap. Sorry, although that's very good too. You should have a good golf handicap. And your potential isn't, you know, how well your sports team do. That's not called a meaningful potential. Your meaningful potential is how much are you positively influencing the world around you, and how and how much are you manifesting yourself in the world. The perfect example of this from the Torah is David HaMelech, King David, and Esau. They were given exactly the same potential. They had exactly the same nature, exactly the same makeup. They're both called Elmi. They're both called red ones. It's just that Esau, manifested his potential for evil. And he really, unfortunately, in the world, there's great potential for evil. And we don't want people to actualize their potential for evil, but it's happening a lot in the world. So we've got to be the ones, the King Davids. We've got to be the ones who are leading people towards consciousness and towards health and happiness and connection. So true actualization is called self-actualization. So we've got to start defining ourself. So Jewish teachings teach two levels. On one level, yourself is really defined by your character traits. Your character traits. It's not defined by your car, and it's not defined by your clothes, and it's not defined by your house, and it's not defined by what school your children go to, and that doesn't define you. You're really defined by your character traits. Are you a kind, loving, sweet, warm, connected, generous person? By the way, I just wanted to also mention Helen and Eric, how sweet and kind and beautiful and connected and warm their house always was. I don't think Helen ever thought, you know, let's try and be kind. She just naturally overflowing with motherly sweetness, not only to her own children, but to everyone else's children. Everyone who walks into her house is just completely cuddled and taken in with such sweetness and warmth. So that's called self-actualization. That's what's very important. To be able to be manifesting that in that in the world. And Sacha and the girls all learned very much from their mother. Sorry, I'm actually overcoming a bout of corona here, so my breathing's not the best. But Baruch Hashem, it's all a challenge. So fine, if your self is, it's not your golf handicap, and it's not how well your team are doing. I'm not going to tell you what team I support, because we're not doing so well at the moment. But myself is who I am, who I'm being. Baruch Hashem, my daughter's very pretty. And since she was about 3 years old, everyone who comes to our house says to her, "Oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. Wow, you're so pretty." And that's very dangerous, because that means she grows up valuing being pretty. And what makes me worthwhile, what makes me valuable, is that I'm pretty. So I sat her down when I was 3 years old, and I said, "Look, you are pretty, Baruch Hashem, but you're just pretty because your mother's pretty. And you're both just pretty because Hashem made you pretty. So what's really more important than being pretty?" And she said to me, "Being kind." I was like, yeah, that's more important than being pretty. So I want to teach my children to value themselves, not based on their looks and their clothes and even their job and even their talents, by the way. I want them to value themselves on who they're being, how much light they're bringing to the world, how much they're growing, how much they're contributing. That's what's important. That's what I'm going to praise them for. That's what they should feel good about. And Judaism teaches us a very, very sweet idea. And this is where Shammai comes in, that your potential is always pure and beautiful and sweet and connected and happy and innately healthy. That is really who you are. In this world, you'll manifest through your thoughts and your speech and your action. So what we're trying to do, how are we actualizing our potential in this world, is really trying to make sure that all our thoughts are refined and uplifting and sweet and positive. I run a mindfulness course, and it really starts off by helping people realize that we got a voice in our head. You got this voice in our head that doesn't stop talking, really, ever. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you've got a voice, and it's judging and it's commenting, and you're walking down the street and you say, oh, there's a dog. I like dogs. Oh, actually, my girlfriend had a dog and I split up with my girlfriend, and what should I have for lunch? Should I have sushi? No, it's going to make me fat. So we've just got this constant voice in our head. So the first thing we want to try and do is try and become aware of the voice and start choosing which one of these voices in my head represents me. We all have a critical voice. We have a judgmental voice. We have a voice putting other people down, putting ourselves down. So what we're trying to do to actualize our potential is think good thoughts. This is one of Sacha's other major things. Let's just try and think good thoughts about other people. And the way you're going to think good thoughts about other people, by the way, is to start off by thinking good thoughts about yourself. If you feel good about yourself, it's much easier to see the good in other people. If you're putting yourself down the whole time and you don't feel good about yourself, in a way, we need to judge others to make ourselves feel a bit better about ourselves. So Judaism says, yes, we have negative character traits, but those negative character traits don't define me. That isn't who I am. I'm going to define myself through my positive character traits, and I'll work on the negative ones. I actually said to a group, many people say to me, I don't like myself. I say, why? They say, because I get impatient, and I get judgmental, and I get angry. And I say to them, but those are negative character traits. They don't define you. That's not who you are. When you have children and they have negative character traits, you don't hate your children. You don't hate your children for their negative character traits. So don't hate yourself for your negative character traits. Just work on them and love yourself for working on your negative character traits. So the first thing is really to start making our thoughts grow in a healthy way. It's like weeding the garden. For the tree to actualize its potential, you've got to take out the weeds. So that's the first thing we're trying to do. Let's start weeding out the negativity from how we think, and take out the weeds and the thorns, and start planting lavender bushes and rose bushes and nice things. Just start talking to yourself in a nice way. Start speaking to yourself how you'd want someone to speak to someone you love. Just change the soundtrack in your head. The second one is speech. Is your speech uplifting? Are you someone who complains a lot, or is negative or not, or talks about other people a lot? Judaism is very, very focused on making sure that we're speaking in an uplifting, healthy, sweet way, always finding the best, always pointing out the good in other people, always saying something positive, always finding the good in the darkness. And the last one is our actions. Are your actions in line with your soul, with your potential? Are you doing things to help other people? Are you using your time wisely and meaningfully? What are you doing? This is called real self-actualization. And really, Judaism's teaching us that deep down, who we really are is already self-actualized. We're actually taught that at the end of days, we're not going to do Hillel anymore. We're not going to talk about actualization so much anymore. We're going to we're going to be in line with Shammai. And Shammai is saying, your potential, you are always good. You are always pure. You are always connected. You are always loving. It's just that we're not connected to that part of ourselves so much. We need to start revealing that part of ourselves. It says, the prophet Isaiah says, Amech kulam tzadikim. We're all tzadikim. That's our natural state of being. It's just over our life, we have some pain, we have some challenges, we have things that go on in our life, and it covers up our potential. But if we can start remembering and realizing, I am good. I am intrinsically good. I don't always act that way, but I can forgive myself because at least I'm trying. I have the right values, my values of growth and contribution, and I'm trying to live up to them. I'm really doing my best. So Shammai says, always look at the potential, always go back. The word for to progress in Hebrew is lehit kadem. To progress, to move forward, lehit kadem. We say kadima, go forward. but the root of the word lihipadem is kodem, which really means before. There's something that happened before. So what we're saying is we've got to progress to who we are in our potential, who we were before we made mistakes, before we let the world get on top of us, before we let other people define us, before we defined ourselves in a negative way. So this is what we're trying to do. We have four, in line really with the four types of existence. We have four levels of being. We're physical beings, and we're emotional beings, and we're mental, intellectual beings, and really ultimately we're spiritual beings. And we're spiritual beings in this world. The sages actually teach us we're not really compared to just a tree, we're compared to an upside down tree. Why is that? Because a tree has its roots in the earth, and it's sucking water from the earth, and it's producing its fruit in the sky. But we really have our roots in Shemayim. We're upside down trees. We have our roots in heaven, in spirituality, in Hashem. And we're producing our fruits in this world. And what are the fruits? The fruits are mitzvahs. The fruits are acts of kindness. The fruits are the people that we've affected and we've influenced in our life. The fruits are our children and our good deeds. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be physically healthy to the extent we can be physically healthy, to eat the right thing, to exercise, to be emotionally balanced. Emotionally balanced, as we said really at the beginning, it doesn't mean to repress your emotions, but it also doesn't mean to be completely overwhelmed and controlled by your emotions. It means to experience them and to be open to feeling them, but then using them to grow. And then mentally, we want to be mentally strong, mentally healthy, which means we choose what's going on in the garden of our mind. We start picking out the weeds. I gave an example the other day in my courses, like waves. When you go surfing, Sacha and I used to go camping and surfing on the. I got lots of stories about Sacha. I can't tell most of them, unfortunately, but we had fun together, me and Sacha. Anyway, when you go surfing, you don't get on every wave that comes past. A wave comes past, if it's going towards the rocks, you don't get on that wave. And another wave goes past, and if it's got a shark in it or a jellyfish in it, you don't get in that wave. And then you wait for the good waves. That's so too with our minds. All our thoughts are like waves. You don't have to get on every thought that comes. Some thoughts are negative, and they're going to take us to places we don't want to go. So those thoughts, we don't repress them, and you don't need to fight the wave. You just watch the wave going past, and then you start choosing the right waves to go on. But then the ultimate level is spiritual, to be spiritually aware, to make sure that our thought and our speech and our action are being in line with our neshama. And that's called true actualizing. That's called truly actualizing our potential, to become the greatest people we can be. And by the way, you can also have a good golf handicap, but be nice to the guys you're playing golf with, and don't get arrogant if you win, and don't get moody if you lose. Improving your character traits. So they're going to wrap up now and say Sacha was someone who, he was always looking at the potential of other people. He never judged you on what you did or who you were being. He always looked at your potential. He always says, I see you can be great. And his whole life mission was to bring out the potential of other people. And how he did that was he never let people stop focusing on who they could be. You can be, I know you haven't managed yet, but you still can be great. It's never too late. And there's a famous, I've forgotten who said it, but there's a famous quote, a great person can make other people feel small. A really great person, everyone feels small around them, but a truly, truly great person makes everyone else feel great. And that's what Sacha was. He actualized more of his potential in less time than many people are going to actualize in their whole life. And he made it his mission to help other people actualize their potential by focusing on the good in others. Hey. Ah.
There's our boy. Yeah.
Rabbi Ber Cohen should go higher and higher, and we should all live great lives in his memory, in his honor. We're the ones who are left. We still have the potential, and let's use his example and use his lessons. And be people who invest our time and our money and our effort in growth, in growing, and in contributing to those around us.
Amen. Thank you so much for being you, for your words of wisdom. I think you've impacted us all in so many ways. And Sacha's just smiling in gratitude, and he's standing right there next to you. Thank you so much. What I wanted to ask, if we've come to an end now, but if anybody wants to stay on and maybe share some stories about Sacha, some memories, I know my mum and dad would love that, as I would.
Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us this evening. Sacha was my fourth child, and after 3 girls to have a son, I was so thrilled. And he was really such an exceptional sportsman and fun guy. And we had a wonderful time until his illness took over. And I just want to think of all the good things, because he suffered so much as well. And we all suffered when he got ill, but I just want to think of all the good things. And Bradley, thank you so much for all the wonderful things you did. And my daughters, thank you for all being so wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen.
I love you, Ma. And Sacha could not have had a greater mother. I mean, the relationship that you had, and the time and the love and the acceptance and the support you gave him throughout was a huge role model, which I just, I respect and I'm in awe of. You know, absolutely wonderful.
Growing up in Cape Town with Sacha there, the one thing that really just stands out to me is just his huge hugs that he would give us every time we would see him. And there's the one thing that I just remember from him, and just stays with me forever, is just the love that was tangible and physically felt whenever you were just next to him or with him. And that's just something also that I just take with me, and really, really hope that in his merit I'm able to spread to more people and just spread more of that love in the world, because the world really needs it. And he was just, that's the one thing I just really hope that we can all take from him and remember from him and try and spread more of it, because he just had so much love. So yeah, I love you, Gogan Papa.
Love you, darling.
Thank you, Shanti.
Miss you.
Yeah. I really remember Sacha, just the love he had for all of our kids, for all of his nephews and nieces, and the way in Cape Town he would, in the swimming pool, throw you up in the air and love to play, and his, you know, his awe and love and laughter. Beautiful.
Thank you, Nicole, for arranging this.
But we went to Corfu on holiday once. I think we were about 18. Oh, good Lord, I shall confess before you. Anyway, it wasn't him. We stole a pedalo, and this Greek man's pedalo, and we pedaled it out. He had nothing to do with it, obviously. He told me not to do it. It was all my fault. So we pedaled out far into the, is it the Mediterranean Sea? Whatever. We were far out at sea in Corfu with this man's pedalo, and we managed to sink it. Now, I'm not a very good swimmer, but thank God Sacha is a very good swimmer. He had the huge shoulders. So I hung on to his shoulders and he swam me back into shore, basically. And it was quite a fast swim, and I was pretty impressed. He managed to swim me back into it, basically saved my life. And we were met on shore by an irate Greek Corfu peddler man who lost his peddler. Thank God I'm not a good swimmer, but I'm quite a good runner. So me and Sacha managed to outpace this fat old Greek man. And what a horrible, you know, I'd like to find him and pay him back. I don't know, that's his livelihood. I don't know. I feel bad about that. But that's just, it was all my fault. I did everything bad there, and Sacha saved my life. That was the best story I could think. I got plenty others.
And, he was just the most full of life, zestful, you know, one of the most full of life, zestful people that I knew. And, you know, when I heard that he had passed away, I was so upset. And, you know, I miss him. He was a great, great man.
Thanks, Jace. I do find it amazing, even now, when people see my surname and they say, "Oh my God, did you know Sacha Sorrell?" And they said, you know, sometimes they don't know that he passed away, but every single person, and it's been incredible where I've met people that I know Sacha's orchestrating, but every person says, like you, how he just like a larger than life character, just impact them, change their lives, inspiring, insightful, deeply cared about their well-being, about what they were doing in their life, how they could do things better and differently. Like he was heavily invested in having fun, joy, and helping people.
And the woman really didn't like him that much,
I've got to say, a lot of the women that are saying to me, "Did you know Sacha?" Yeah, but all very special women.
You know, like I loved Sacha. I really love him and miss him so much. I don't want to get too emotional every time I start speaking about him. You know, as my kids see, like it's hard to speak even today. You know, it pulls on the heartstrings. But he really just contributed so much to my life. Not just like the other Jason said. You know, he was just the funnest guy to be around. Just got the most unbelievable memories. And he really brought like spirituality, made it real in my life for the first time. Even though I had like a Jewish education and upbringing, he actually like encouraged me like to be more spiritual and to grow as a person. And I think I'm the husband that I am today and the father that I am today, pretty much in a big sense, thanks to him. I really do. Like, you know, but in a more private setting, I'd be able to elaborate on that more. But as you can see, like I feel like crying now, and I'm a grown man, so I probably shouldn't be doing that in front of big crowds. So I'm going to pull out and just wish you guys a long life and love and miss Sacha. Never, you're not gone, but never ever to be forgotten. That's for sure.
Thank you, Johnny.
He was always so inspirational. Learned so much from him, and just remember him and feel him around us at the moment. It's just very beautiful memories.
And Michelle, would you share, you know, how Sacha inspired you to write your book?
Sacha said to me that if you want to become a master of something, you need to write about it. And he sent me a lot of information about how to write your own book. And I did write a book on meditation for children. And I think he really did. He was the one who inspired me to do it. Absolutely. Amazing man.
Yeah, in fact, Michelle and I currently, we were given a book that Sacha wrote after, well, we only came across it after he passed away, and Michelle and I have been working on it and editing it, and hopefully within a year we'll be able to share it with all of you, which has got a lot of Sacha's wisdom. So we're looking forward to that.
His incredible relationship with my late husband Sam, they had such an incredible bond throughout the friendship together. They immediately connected, even if they hadn't seen each other for months or years. It really was something that both Helen and I got such great pleasure from.
Yeah.
I love you, Sacha. You'll be in my heart forever. A special, special man. God bless you.
Every single time he spoke, he just made total and utter sense, and he just spoke with such wisdom. and kindness as well, kindness and calmness, but just really, really funny too. And yeah, and I think of him often, and just feel very, very blessed that I was able to have those times with him.
I know I've had the gift of being at some of those conversations with you, and I'm just visualizing Sacha just getting so excited and so passionate about, you know, aspects of living and life and how we could be better versions of ourselves, and working with concepts, just really put himself so fully in that moment and in that conversation. It's just magnificent.
Yeah, well, one thing that really stands out was just like he was so serious but so light-hearted as well. It was yeah,
Beautiful laughter, joy.
yeah.
Thanks, Rebecca. Beautiful.
Depth to him, a depth that really he if you're honest with him, he trusted you. That is the feeling I got of Sacha.
I'll simply share that I stayed with Sacha a few times in South Africa when I came out to visit you, Nicole, and his ability to sort of engage, go out and party, and then come back and want to continue while I wanted to sleep, and then get up in the morning before me, iron his shirts and get ready to make big presentations. Was I was in awe of his energy. Yeah, was something to behold. Yeah.
And my loveliest memory of Sacha will always be his spirit, his joy, his brightness.
Of my friends who are here, just they feel like they know Sacha, just because, yeah, maybe connected in different places at different times. But thank you to everybody. Mum and Dad, love you so much.
Thank you, darling. Thank you for organising.
We all love you, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy, well. And as Brady said, if we could all just be full of love. I love what he said when he said, what we must value is, what did you say something about the value our beingness, not our talents, our skills, what we do, but actually our beingness.